Hey everyone, Alex here. I know it's been a few weeks since my last video. Um, yeah, been super busy recently. Um, but I'm back, and I know I said in my last vinyl collection update that was going to be my last one before Christmas. Yeah, raise your hand if you knew that there'd be another one in between. Um, no guarantees this will be my last one before the new year, but I don't see myself picking up too much vinyl between now and New Year, so this could be my last collection update of 2024. But don't hold me to it. As we know, we all know when it comes to vinyl, I'm not always one to stick to my word. Anyways, I'm not going to try and ramble too much at the intro because we do have quite a lot to get through. I've been really lucky in charity shops recently and even got some new pickups and some other goodies to show you. So let's get into it. Kicking off with the new vinyl, Pale Waves' new album called Smitten. This is the indie store exclusive. Um, so it's on like a blue marble vinyl. Now, if you don't know Pale Waves, there's the vinyl. Yeah, if you don't know Pale Waves, they're on the Dirty Hit label, which is the record label of the band The 1975. They've been around a while, Pale Waves. I've never picked anything up of theirs on vinyl before, but this one I was listening to and I was like, it's such an easy album to just throw on and listen to. Because all the songs just work so nice together and really good. I think they've been around, I think they might have formed at like university or something like that many years ago, and they've been prominent in the indie rock scene since. But yeah, really enjoyed listening to that one, so obviously picked that up for the collection. One of my favourite albums of the year so far, one of my favourite new releases of the year so far, and definitely my favourite release of the year so far, even though it's a reissue. I did pick up Stankonia by Outkast, their 2000 album. Um, in my opinion, probably their best album from track by track. Not my favourite, but I've needed some Outkast in the collection. This one got reissued, fair price. Picked it up. Obviously, you guys will probably know some of the big hits on this one, like So Fresh, So Clean, Miss Jackson's on here, B.O.B's on here, and also you've got the what I don't know if it's the first appearance, but it's definitely an early one from Killer Mike, who of Run the Jewels features on this. Erykah Badu features on this, which I'm guessing they must have either reconciled after their divorce or recorded the song before she got divorced from Andre 3000. Um, in 1999. So that's what Miss Jackson's about. In case you guys didn't know, it's an apology to Erykah Badu's mother. It's on black vinyl, but the pressing is phenomenal. Really happy with this. So that's why I'm saying it's my favourite release of the year, even though it's not a new album. The pressing's incredible and sounds really good too. Speaking of new albums of the year, I did pick up the new one from Nubia Garcia. She's been one of my favourite artists in the last few years. Strictly jazz music wise. I don't know if I prefer this over her first album, but this is still a very solid album from her. If you like spiritual jazz, this album is definitely one to listen to. It gets a little bit free jazz at times, I feel, but there's a really good lineup on this album. It's um, so good. Gatefold, obviously, which is nice to have it. But yeah, she's a British-based jazz musician, so if you're not familiar with her, She has a couple albums out, an EP, and I think she did a live album with Khruangbin, which is also worth checking out as well if you're not familiar with her. But her first studio album is probably where I'd start with her, to be honest, if you're not familiar. But still a very, very solid album, to say the least. Next up, hip hop staple, Ready to Die by the Notorious B.I.G. Didn't have a copy of this before in the collection, but finally picked it up. And yeah, love this album, always have, probably always will. Definitely one artist I wish we could have had more time with. But yeah, this is such a fantastic album, and if you're not familiar with Ready to Die, definitely a gateway into hip hop. If you're wanting something to get into hip hop, that's definitely a good gateway, in my opinion. Now, this isn't a new vinyl, but this was bought online. I think I got this off of Vinted at a good price. This is Balls to the Wall by Accept. Wasn't familiar with their stuff before this, but really, really enjoyed listening to this album, so may have to check out some of their other stuff. But this is a 1983 UK press. I don't think it's a first UK press, but definitely an 83 pressing, to say the least. So yeah, I really enjoyed listening to that one, which it was a good time. Right, on to the charity shop stack. Yeah. All of these, I believe, are all from the same charity shop. Yes, they all are from the same charity shop. Different digs. Obviously, I go in there twice a week just to check what they've got in. But they've restocked the shelves quite a few times, and most of these are from different trips there, but I'm happy with the stuff. So, picked up a copy of Duke by Genesis. Really enjoyed listening to this one. Never owned a copy of this one before. So glad to have that. It is my first Genesis album in my new collection, so I'm hoping to get a few more Genesis albums hopefully soon, but only time will tell. Street Life by the Crusaders and Rhapsody and Blues by the Crusaders. I've had this one before. This is probably their biggest album. The title track Street Life was a big hit for them, and then you've got this one, which is the follow-up to it from 1980. This one's a bit more smooth jazz and a little bit more on the traditional side, whereas this one is more jazz funk than anything else. So a couple of albums from the Crusaders there, really happy with both of those. Yeah, Spirits Having Flown by Bee Gees, happy to grab that back in the collection. One of my favourite albums of all time, my favourite Bee Gees album. It was going to happen eventually, and I'm actually going to save that next one to last, because that's one I never imagined finding ever in this charity shop. Anita Baker, Rapture, fantastic album. She's got a really, really good voice, and 86 is the year on this one, so a little bit later than I originally thought, but you can definitely tell it's 80s at least. It's got that 80s production. On the lines of the Bee Gees, here's the Barbra Streisand album that she did with Barry Gibb, Guilty. I actually, although I'm not really a big fan of Barbra Streisand, really enjoyed listening to this one. It might be due to the Barry Gibb tie-in, but I think the production on this is really well done as well, and it's a really good example of showing off her voice, her vocal range, in my opinion. So even if you're not a Barbra Streisand fan, it's worth checking out at least this album. Stevie Nicks, Belladonna, the album with Edge of 17 on it. Fun time listening to that one. picked up another Stevie Nicks album earlier in the year, and I was hoping to add some more to my collection before the year was out, so finally grabbed Belladonna. Now, the reason I saved this one till last is because this one was priced a little bit higher, and it is a reissue. Not a 180 gram reissue like you would expect, but I'm saying it's a reissue. I'm assuming mid to late 80s, maybe possibly early 90s, because there is a barcode on the back of this one. But again, it's an album that I kind of regretted getting rid of from my collection the minute I did my big purge. Yeah, Led Zeppelin 4. I'll show you guys, there's the barcode. I couldn't find the exact year for this one, but I'm just happy to have a decent copy of this back in my collection, and I really want to get the other Led Zeppelin albums that I had again. So I had the first 6 studio albums at one point, so that's everything from like Led Zeppelin 1, 2, 3, 4, Houses of the Holy, and Physical Graffiti. I'd love to get them all back again, but we'll see how we can get on. Even if I have to get reissues, I don't mind, but you guys know me, I'm a sucker for it. So, but really happy to get that. Never imagined finding that ever in a charity shop, especially in super clean condition. Like there's a few bumps and creases and knocks on the cover, but the vinyl is spotless. So happy with that. Right, now these next 7 albums I'm going to show you are all from one guy. So I bought quite a few albums of someone a few years ago, like on and off. He was an old, I think when we used to live next door to his mum, many years ago, like the first house that my mum and dad bought together, I think we lived next door to his mum. He sort of got in contact somehow. I think I found saw he had some records advertised on Marketplace a few years ago. I was interested in some of the stuff he had, so we were talking, and ever since then he's messaged me on and off when he's got stuff from his personal collection that he's getting rid of, or stuff he's picked up in house clearances, things like that, that he wants to get rid of. And he hadn't messaged me for about 2 years, so I kind of forgot about the fact that we dealt with each other in the past until he messaged me earlier this month and said, look, I've got some of these, would you like some? And I said, yeah. Now, I'd have grabbed a lot more if my budget wasn't as tight, but he gave me a really good deal on all of these. So I'll show you guys what we have. 2 of these I've owned previously, but the other 5 I've never owned before. So the first one that I saw in the stack that I knew I really wanted to grab, Good Kid, Mad City, Kendrick Lamar. Much like the Led Zeppelin 4, I really wish I'd kept this album, particularly because I had the deluxe edition, which has a song called The Recipe on it, which features Dr. Dre, which is my favourite track on the album. This pressing doesn't have that song, but I'm not too disheartened by it because the album is still really solid without that track on it, and I can always stream the track when I'm in the mood to listen to it. But the unique thing about this one, which I didn't notice until I was logging these into my Discogs, this is the 10-year anniversary on red vinyl. So, fairly new copy, still, I think he must have played it like once or twice or something, but really pristine copy of this. So happy to have this Kendrick album back in the collection, and that means I'm now 1 away from being complete on Kendrick. although I might give Damn a skip, because that is definitely my least favourite Kendrick album. This album, however, was like many people, this album was my introduction to Kendrick, so it will always have a soft spot in my heart. And I think all of Kendrick's albums are pretty solid, except for Damn from 2017. I think it's not aged too well, but I need to go back and re-listen to it in full. Anyway, and then the other album I've owned in the past before I did my big purge was Back to the World by Curtis Mayfield, which I forgot how much I loved this album until I got it home and put it on the turntable. And yeah, it's definitely an underrated one from Curtis Mayfield, but a fun listen regardless. So that was a good time. It isn't a first pressing, but it is still it's a first year pressing, so super stoked about that one. Alright, these next 5, like I said, I've never owned before on vinyl, but one of these I have always wanted, so that was bonus. And this is actually the second one in the stack I saw that I was like, yeah, I'll take that. This is Plastic Beach by Gorillaz. Probably, in my opinion, their best album. I think this one's really good. It's got, the big hit on here was On Melancholy Hill. And from what I can work out, this is an original pressing. I need to do a little bit more digging, but all the numbers match up, and all the pictures from the labels and stuff all match up to being an original press. But again, come on. Again, I'm just not. I'm trying a lot harder to make sure I get the exact pressings in my Discogs, but I've checked this one like 6 times already, and all the results have been the same and all led to being an original pressing. So I'm really happy to have that one in the collection. One for the Gorillaz collection. I'm not a massive fan of the Gorillaz. I want to put that out there. There's like some albums I've really enjoyed, especially in the last few years, gone back and rediscovered them. But I definitely want to get Cracker Island back in the collection, because that's one of the ones I purged. That's their most recent album. I want their first album, and I want Demon Days. And then after that, I'm not really sure if I want any more, but we'll see. Curtis Blow. This is called Break to Rap. This is a compilation. I think it came out in France. This is a French pressing at least. But it obviously has big hits on here. 6 of his big hits. Party Time's on here, and you've got The Breaks on here, which was his really big song. I'm just happy to own this because it's Curtis Blow, and I really like, a lot of 80s hip hop, and I never really see his stuff. And when I do see copies of The Breaks, like the 12-inch, people want crazy money for it, and so I just might as well grab a compilation which has a lot of really good stuff on it anyway. It's not an actual studio album, but it's still a fun listen regardless. How many of you would expect me to have this in my collection? Yeah, Among the Living by Anthrax. He had a couple other Anthrax albums in there, and the reason I picked this one, it's so stupid why I picked this one over the rest, to be honest with you, but the reason I picked this one is purely because it's got a tie-in to my favourite author, Stephen King. I've actually got a couple. Now, it even says on the inner sleeve about its tie-in, so the first one is the album cover. It's supposed to be Randall Flagg from the book The Stand. That's supposed to be the inspiration for Randall Flagg on the cover. But the title track itself, Among the Living, is based on the book by Stephen King, The Stand. Now, although I haven't read that book yet by him, I'm aware of the premise of the book, so I kind of knew what to expect from this, and I actually did really enjoy this. I'm not massive on thrash metal, It's one of them genres. You ask me a few bands I like. I could rule off like Metallica, possibly. But I did really enjoy listening to this Anthrax album, so may have to do another dive into their catalogue, perhaps. But that one was a lot of fun. Right, and these last two, the reason I saved these two till last is because these I need to give a bit more cleaning to. These two are definitely the most expensive in the collection if they were in better shape. But I need to give them a few more cleanings and give them another listen because they're not in the best shape. But I've got Escape, Humming, Coming At Ya, and then Escape's Traces of My Lipstick. Now, if you're not aware of Escape, they're a hip hop R&B group from the 90s. One of the members in the group wrote the song No Scrubs for TLC, which was kind of their big claim to fame. And I don't know if they were never as big as TLC. But obviously I sort of discovered these when I was going through my phase of wanting to go back and rediscover a lot of 90s R&B, and somehow I came across Escape, and I didn't even know they had vinyl stuff on vinyl. It's a shame that these aren't the best shape. It's nice to have them, and I kind of wish they were in slightly better shape, but I think it's just where they need a bit more cleaning. So I will give them a few more cleans and give them some more listens. But this is their first album. This one came out in, I think it was 93. Yeah, 93. And this one's 98. They do have an album out in the middle for about 95. But yeah, these guys are really talented ladies, and I am so stoked to have these on vinyl, even though, like I said, they need a little more cleaning. But if you guys know Escape, let me know, because I'm interested to see what you guys think of this group. But yeah, so with that in mind, that's everything for this video. It went on a bit longer than I anticipated, so apologies about that. But I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you're new here, because I always appreciate it. And also make sure the bell's switched on, because you never miss an upload that way. So yeah, guys, thanks so much for tuning back into the channel, and I'll see you all again very soon. Hopefully. Bye!